Hey Facebook, how are we? How is it going? So, it's not magic, it's practice. I want to just tell you, right, so I'm doing one-to-one training today with a lovely lady called Lena. She's very lovely. And today, on all my one-to-one training, what we do basically is we hit the phones together and we spend time coaching, but we also spend time where I lead source and lead generate deals for your pipeline. So this particular client, what she's sourcing is flips in a certain part of the UK, and one of the biggest challenges she's got is that she's not really sure what to say when she hits the phone. So we basically put me on the phone. We found a couple of deals on Rightmove, on Zoopla, and we just picked up the phone and talked to them. Now, there's a couple of things to remember with this, okay, is that it isn't necessarily magic. So when I come off my call, and I'll explain what happened on the call in a second. When I came off my call, Lena said to me, "You're like a magician." And that was her words. And what I need you guys to understand is it isn't magic, it's practice. I've made these calls so many times now that it just rolls off the tongue. Until you've made thousands of these calls, it won't roll off the tongue. The first call I ever made, it didn't roll off the tongue. I got hung up on the first call I ever made. So on this particular call, so it was we did a Zoopla search using, hey Claudine, how you doing? We use the advanced searching tool inside Zoopla. So in Zoopla, you can search under things like needs modernisation, probate, investment opportunity, first time buyer. So you can put keyword searches like you would in Google, and it brings up adverts that have got those string of words in the advert so that you can target very specific types of deals. So we were looking for flips, buy to sell deals today, buy, add value, sell to make a profit, right? So we did some searching on that and we came up with a couple of options, and we put me on the phone. So I picked up the phone and I obviously had a conversation with the guy. Now, generally speaking, if I'm looking for flips, if I'm looking for add values, these sorts of like development type projects, I will always make it really clear on the outset that I'm ringing to talk to them about opportunities that have got margin in them, or we can buy to sell for a profit. Otherwise, they try and give you the stuff that's not really got any money in it, and that's no good, because you obviously need to make money, or your investors need to make money if you're going to be selling it onto them. So I was on the call for probably about 25 minutes. Now, the house I phoned up about, there was no money in it. There was no deal there. Actually, the deal you actually phone them about, the deal that's live on the internet, the deal that you pick up the phone to them at first, is probably not a deal. It's probably not the one. But what it is a door opener for you to be able to talk to them about other things. Now, there's a couple of things we say, we need to build relationships. So we talk to them about their experience and whether they've been based there forever. This guy had been based in the area for 30 years, knew what he was talking about. You know, he knew the values, he knew what we do, he knew that we buy with a profit in mind. And once we'd been on the phone to him for like 5 minutes, we realised that the house that I'd phoned up about definitely wasn't a deal. So I asked him, what else have you got? And he said, nothing. And then he stopped talking. I was like, oh, okay. And so at that point, you have to feel the silence. You have to say something, right? So I just started having a bit of chat about who we are and what we do and what our criteria was. And once I'd spent a bit of time explaining to him, I've done a good enough job of explaining to him why we're a good option to talk to, he started to open up. And actually, the call ended up with him sending me a link to a probate deal that's been hanging around in the back of his filing cabinet for about 6 months. He said he was very open, and he said the vendor wants too much money for it. So I said, would he consider a joint venture where we put the money in to do the work, he puts the house in, we do the work, we bring the value of the property up, then we split it. So he gets the money that he wants because he's the uplift of the profit of the actual uplift of the added value. He can have a cut off, and we get a cut of the profit as well once we've had our money back. And he said, do you know what? No one's ever approached me with that as an option. Normally we just get low offers, and when the offer gets rejected, they never call us again. They never speak to us about other ways that you might be able to satisfy the vendor whilst also making money in your business. So I came off that call 25 minutes later with the opportunity to basically offer, and I said to him, I'm going to come back to you with 2 different offers. One is going to be a straight purchase, which is going to be low, and he knows that. I've told him it's definitely going to start with probably a 2, and he wants 3 something. So I've managed his expectations. He's aware it's coming. It's not going to offend him. He knows it's coming. But I've also teed up that Lena and I can send an offer that is more of a joint venture offer, where we can put the money in to do the work, kind of like an assisted sale type thing. We agree our price, we do the work, whatever we sell it at, we split the difference, or we keep a big chunk of it and he gets his bit. Now, I'm surprised that, especially in this particular market, because it's not far out from London, I'm surprised that people are not putting these sorts of secondary options, viable positions in front of agents more often. To have an agent that's worked in property for 30 years as an agent, not to have ever been approached about a more creative way to satisfy the vendor's requirements really, really surprised me. And that's not magic. That's just because I've had this conversation so many times over and over and over again. I just always ask the question, would they be open to this? What about that? What about this? What about that? What you guys need to learn is that you need to get into practicing. Yeah, you're going to make call after call after call. And at the beginning, you're going to make call. Most of them will fall to pieces. Most of them, you'll forget to ask the right questions. Most of them, you will miss a detail. That happens. That's normal. Until you've practiced it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times, it isn't going to be natural. It isn't going to be. So you have to maybe have a call script, or you have to have a question set, or whatever it is that you do to keep your mind, to make sure you answer all the questions. But ultimately, it all comes down to practice. So one of the things that we do with our students is we always set you like an accountability task to do a certain number of calls and a certain number of offers out and things like that. So tomorrow, my student that's in, we're doing 1-to-1 these 2 days. So we're going to hit the phones in the morning and do a set number of calls. And again, we're going to think creatively, and we're going to practice. Now, I recorded the first call that my client made today, and we're going to record the last call that she makes tomorrow and prove that it isn't magic. It's just practice. And I would recommend that you guys all do the same thing, okay? If you are going to hit the phones tomorrow, if you're going to make a load of calls tomorrow, record them. Because when you record them, record the first one and record the last one, just see how different they are, because your confidence grows every time. Your brain switches on every time you make a call. Every time you're asked a new question that you hadn't been asked before, you think on your feet, you start to piece together, and eventually, over time, you will get better and better and better, and you will also become magic at getting what you need from any call that you make. So do that as a task. Record your calls, and also record your calls now, because in 3 years' time, when you're making amazing calls, actually to listen back on them is quite fun. I've still got some of my very early calls. Whatever you're doing this evening, have an amazing time. I'm going to go out and walk the dog now. I've done my hard day's work. I will catch you guys later. Have a really, really good evening. Practice, practice, practice. Bye.